the Wayne County Public Library, and today we're going to talk about polar bears. So here's some books that we have at the library about polar bears. This one is for older ages, and this one is Why Don't Polar Bears Have Stripes? And we're going to kind of look at the pictures. Let's see. I'll tell you who it's written by. It is written by Catherine Smith, and it is published by Waterbird Books. Why don't polar bears have stripes? It looked like a tiger, wouldn't it? It looked a little strange. Because polar bears live in the icy Arctic where everything is white, so they blend in. So like there's an Arctic fox that uses camouflage to blend into his background. We'll be talking about foxes next week. Polar bear cubs have whiter fur than adult bears. The Arctic is a cold region around the North Pole. Much of the Arctic does not get sun during the winter months. Polar bears stay hidden when they hunt for food. Their white fur allows them to blend into the white ice and snow, and this is called camouflage. Why don't polar bears freeze in the cold Arctic air? Which is a really good question. Because polar bears have thick layers of fat to keep them warm, and it's called blubber. It protects the bears from freezing cold even when they swim in icy, icy water. Their thick white fur also helps keep them warm. They have black skin under their white fur, and it soaks up the heat from the sun. This helps to keep the bears warm. Each hair in a polar bear's fur is hollow and it traps heat. This also helps to keep the polar bear warm. Why don't polar bears live in large groups? They probably like to stay by themselves. That's my guess. Because there's a lot of competition for food in the Arctic, which makes sense. Why aren't polar bears born underwater? Because polar bears are mammals, and like most mammals, they give birth to their young on land. Why don't polar bears climb trees? I don't think there's any trees in the Arctic, and if there is, they just don't climb. Because there's only freezing ice and water in the Arctic, so it explains itself. Why don't polar bears eat fruit and berries? It's not found in the Arctic. Because polar bears are carnivores and they only eat meat, and again, there is no bushes or trees in the Arctic to have berries. So a polar bear can live for a lifespan of 25 to 30 years. The size of a polar bear is 6.5 feet to 7 feet. They weigh about 1,500 pounds for a male. And for a female, they weigh up to 550 pounds. That's as heavy as 3 male human beings. And there are between 25,000 and 40,000 polar bears in the Arctic. That's a lot of polar bears. So if you are interested in checking those out, just call the library and we will be more than happy to get those for you. We also have these cool Zoo Books magazines, and they show polar bears. And it shows what they look like, what they may eat. Has some cool posters you can look at. You can write a polar bear story and then look at the 2 little baby polar bears. They're so cute. And it tells of their life. And there they are swimming. And we have plenty of these, so if you're interested, just call us here at the library. So the polar bear is a marine mammal. Its scientific name is Eurysis martimus, which means sea bear, which is really cool. Polar bear cubs are very playful once they leave the den. They chase and roll over each other, wrestling and sliding. You may do that with brothers and sisters at home. Polar bears have 2 layers of fur and a thick layer of blubber or fat to insulate them. The fat mostly helps to keep them afloat while they're swimming, while the fur is most important for their warmth. A newborn polar bear cub is about 1 foot long and it weighs about 2 pounds. Cubs finally venture out of the den when they are 4 months old and their mother leads them out to the sea to the ice. Nanook is the Inuit name for polar bear. Inuits are the native people of the Arctic. Polar bears can sleep in any position and they need to rest a lot to save their energy for the cold Arctic ocean water, which I would too because that's probably freezing. So our first book we're going to do has penguins that we've already talked about and a polar bear in it, and it's called Polar Opposites. And it was written by Eric Brooks. And it's published by Marshall Cavendish Children. Alex is a big polar bear. Xena is a teeny penguin. Alex and Xena are polar opposites. So Alex is up here and Xena is down here at the bottom. They live on opposite sides of the world. Alex lives in the Arctic. Xena lives in the Antarctic. Alex is mostly white with some black. Xena is mostly black with some white. Alex is shaggy and Xena is smooth. Polar opposites are different in so many ways. They're completely different. Alex gets up late. Xena rises early. Alex likes sour things. Xena likes sweet things. Alex is messy. Xena is very neat. Alex is loud. Crash, Mom. Ugh! Xena is quiet. Shh. Alex's favorite clothes are bright. Xena's favorites are not. Alex pushes. Xena pulls. Alex travels fast. Xena takes it slow. Alex and Xena are very different, but even polar opposites can always meet in the middle. I met at the Galapagos Islands. Now look at all the fun they had. See you next year. I really like that story. I thought it was so cute with the both of them. Okay, for our next story that we have, we're going to read Polar Babies. It is written by Susan Ring, and the pictures are illustrated by Lisa McHugh. And it's published by Random House. Wake up, Polar Babies. It is a big day. Polar babies learn to fish. This polar baby loves to fish. This polar baby loves to sleep. Polar babies learn to swim. This polar baby loves to swim. This polar baby loves to sleep. Polar babies learn to walk on the ice. This polar baby loves the ice. This polar baby loves to sleep. Oh no, a big, big polar bear. Polar babies learn to run. Run, polar babies, run! Polar babies run over the ice, past the fishing hole, into the water, and back to their safe den. Now this polar baby wants to sleep. What does this polar baby want? Probably to go outside and play again. Another big day. And I hope you enjoyed that story. That was so cute. So for our next thing we're going to do, can you act like you have snow on your forehead? We should have a snowflake on our forehead. Snowflake on our forehead. I have snow on my knee. I have snow on my glasses. It's getting so hard to see. I have snow on my boots. I have snow in my hair. I have snow on my mittens. And there's snow everywhere. Okay, for our next little story that we have The Three Snow Bears, and it's by Jan Brett. And it's published by G.P. Putnam Sons. Come back! A low-key shouted as her huskies floated out to sea. Oh no, she knew that although an ice floe is a good place to fish, it is a bad place to lose a dog team. Not far away, a snow bear family had just started to eat their breakfast, but it was way too hot for Baby Bear. Owie! Yelled Baby Bear. My breakfast burned my mouth. Well, we'll go for a stroll and let the soup cool, Mama Bear said. Loki was running along looking for her dogs when she came upon the biggest igloo that she had ever seen. Who lives here, she wondered. Loki ducked inside. Right away she smelled something delicious. Across the room she saw a big bowl, a middle-sized bowl, and a small bowl. Surely the good smell was coming from the three bowls. Loki took a sip from the biggest bowl. Ow, she cried, too hot. She took a sip from the middle-sized bowl. Ew, too cold. She tipped up the littlest bowl and drank every drop. She said, not too hot and not too cold. In the next room, Loki spotted 3 pairs of beautiful boots standing in a row. She put on the biggest boot. Too big, she said. She put on the middle-sized boot. Too fancy, she said. She put on the littlest pair. Just right, she said, wiggling her toes in the soft fur lining. Loki walked into the last room and found a long sleeping bench piled high with fur covers. Heat from an oil lamp warmed her cheeks and made her sleepy. Time for a nap, she thought. She crawled under the highest mound of covers. Too lumpy, she grumbled. She tried the middle bed, with the furry fringe cover, but sank down so far that she could hardly breathe. Too soft, she said. She rolled over into the smallest sleeping place. The furry blanket was cozy and warm, and the pillow was just her size. Just right, Loki murmured, and was fast asleep before she could even take her boots off. If Loki hadn't fallen fast asleep, she might have heard her dogs barking happily. Papa Bear, Mama Bear, and Baby Bear had spotted them adrift in the strong current and gone out to save them. The Snow Bear family was pushing Loki's dog team back toward their igloo and safety. Papa Bear crawled into the igloo, and he saw his bowl sitting in a pool of spilled soup. Someone has been tasting my soup, he roared. Mama Bear rushed in and saw that her soup had been sloshed around too. Someone has been sipping my soup, she growled. Someone found my soup, sputtered Baby Bear in her high, squeaky voice, and they ate it all up. Papa Bear ran into the next room and saw his boots in the middle of the floor. Someone has been trying on my boots, he boomed in his big bear voice. Mama Bear put on her fancy boots. Someone has had these boots on, she huffed, and the fur is all bunched up. Baby Bear saw her boots had disappeared. Someone's taken all my boots and left behind these not-so-good ones, she wailed. The bears ran into their bedroom. Someone has been sleeping in my bed, Papa Bear bellowed. Someone has been sleeping in my bed too, Mama Bear cried. Baby Bear peeked at her little bed and squeaked. Someone's been sleeping in my bed, and here she is. Aloki opened her eyes and saw 3 bare noses only inches away. I think I would take off running. She hopped out of bed and dove between Papa Bear's huge furry legs. Quicker than a seal, Aloki ran from room to room until she burst outside. Her huskies bounced around, barking and smiling their doggy grins. Aloki and her dogs flew over the frozen ice, dodging ridges and cracks. She looked back to wave a thank you to the snow bears. She couldn't see them, but she heard a big rough voice, a middle-sized voice, and a high squeaky voice calling to her. Bye! 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 The end. I hope you liked that story. I thought it was so cute. And there's some cute animals. Okay. So we are going to read our last story and then we're going to do our craft. I'm going to show you how to do your craft. We have 10 on the Sled. It is written by Kim Norman and the pictures are illustrated by Lisa Woodruff. It is published by Sterling Children's Books, New York. On a sunlit night, underneath a snowy moon, there was 1 on the sled, then 2, but soon there were 10 on the sled, and the caribou said, slip over, slide over. So they all slid over, and the seal slipped out. There were 9 on the sled, and the caribou said, it's snowing, let's get going. So they all got going, but Hare hopped out. There were 8 on the sled, and the caribou said, it's slicker, let's go quicker. So they all went quicker, but the sheep shot out. That poor sheep. There were 7 on the sled, and the caribou said, we're gliding, keep riding. So they all kept riding, but Walrus whirled out. There were 6 on the sled, and the caribou said, we're lighter, let's hold tighter. So they all held tighter, but Fox flipped out. There were 5 on the sled, and the caribou said, great thunder, let's duck under. So they all ducked under, but Squirrel squeezed out. There were 4 on the sled, and the caribou said, they're chasing, let's keep racing. So they all kept racing, but Wolf wiped out. There were 3 on the sled, and the caribou sled said, they're winning, no spinning. So they all quit spinning, but Moose muddled out. There were 2 on the sled, and the caribou said, keep trying, we're flying. So they both kept flying till Bear bailed out. Poor Bear. There was 1 on the sled, and the caribou said, I'm lonely. I'm chilled to the bone. A reindeer likes flying, but never alone. So 1 all the way back through 10 again. All leapt on for one more run and a little more fun in the moonlight land of the midnight sun. The end. I hope you enjoyed that story. It's such a cute little book. So for our craft this week, I'm going to show you what you're going to get in your baggie. We have a Connect the Dots page you'll get, Color in a Winter Wonderland. We have a Polar Bear Unscramble. Then you do have a vocabulary activity word search. And then for our craft, you are going to get this cool little snowflake that you get to put together. So on one end you'll have a hole, on the other end you don't. So you'll just put it in together. You can decorate it, put stickers on it from home. There's some snowflakes you can decorate it with. And it'll look like that. It's so neat. And then we have some little white snowflakes you'll get. We also have, you're going to get a blue paper that looks like this and a little glacier like that. and a little polar bear head. And what you're going to do is you're going to trace your hand on a white piece of paper that you have in there. And you're going to make an Arctic animal handprint craft. And it's so cute. And then we also have an orange piece of paper, if you wanted to use it. And then you should have a little spiral thingy in your bag. I don't have one in mine. I'm going to have to get another one. But here is a polar bear head. You're going to put your nose on your polar bear. You're going to put eyes on your polar bear. And then there's a spiral thing that it'll hang from. But you'll also have little fish you can put on there. So I hope you enjoyed this week, and be sure to tune in next week for our foxes.